Welcome home. It's Irish Family History with curious news and notes, celebrating our 6th year of this podcast at the Irish Roots Cafe, where every day's a holiday and there's always room for one more. One of 6 broadcast series from the head school at irishroots.com. I'm Mike O'Loughlin, your host, publisher of rare Irish books and information on every county in Ireland since 1978. Be sure to read our blog, complete with links to click on from this podcast, and search our master index and books for free. Molly, wet the tea, Katie, bar the door, Sweeney, clear that floor, and bring out the Irish dancers. It's time we get this show on the road. Oh, yes, it's show number 200 of the Irish Family History Show and Genealogy Podcast, and it's the end of an era with 4 last episodes we've got on academia and the Irish libraries and Irish studies, and you're going to enjoy it, but I'm going to include a lot of the original Irish things here until we work out our next format for show 205. But this is 200, and the family name of the day is Hickey. The Irish county of the month is Dublin, and we're searching for Moloney and Morris and Leahy and all kinds of other things. And here's a curious note. Which Irish postman donated 25,000 items, or should we say sold 25,000 items to a famous library around here? And a special series, part 1, the O'Hegarty collection, or O'Hagarty collection, depending on how you say the name. It's really a different thing, and we're going to go through it and have a tour like no one else has ever had. I'm telling you, it's amazing. Stay tuned.
Shocking take it up and shalakudio, it's called a heavy hinder shalakudio. Shocking take it up and shalakudio, it's called a heavy hinder shalakudio. Shocking take it up and shalakudio.
Okay, well, we're really crammed for time today, so I'm going to rush a little bit of it for you just so you can hear it all. What's happening at the cafe this week? Well, let me see. I've been drumming and singing just a little bit with Celtique, a local group here, and lots of Irish songs in the mix. And they even let me sing one Shan No style, She Dawamoi, and that was great. Remember them if you need some entertainment. Number 2, How Irish Is Your Name? Last week's blog was How Irish Is Your Name, and I didn't do a podcast on it. So for those of you who don't actually go out and read all the blogs and just listen to the podcast, check that out. I've got a list on the on my webpage. You type in your name, leave off the prefix, and it comes up so many times, and you might enjoy it. I drew it from a collection of 100,000 surnames that I've researched over the last 4 decades, and just having a little bit of fun with it. And what else we have here? Oh, our new members. Let's do this real quick. Our Magnificent 7. Welcome to new member John Moloney of Tolan, Connecticut, trying to expand family history prior to 1835 union of James Moloney and Bridget Morris. Number 2, Frog Haven Party Limited of Queensland, Australia. Welcome as a new member. Their family has 2 branches. One maternal grandfather, Patrick Leahy. More on the blog. Number 3, Jacqueline Stokes, your families of County Cork has shipped. Number 4, Brian Donahue of Indiantown, Florida, your Kerry book is shipped. Number 5, J.R. Hogan of Langsburg, your Longford, your Tipperary book is shipped. You're from Longford, Ireland. Oh, that's great. Karen Phillips of San Diego, your Cork book shipped. Susan Burke of Cleveland, Ohio, welcome as a new member. And they're looking for a family who came to Toronto from Cork. Next up is our special interview with Elsbeth. And boy, you're going to enjoy it. We've got the collections at KU that are lined up, and they're a must for any researcher. You'll have to listen to all the details as Elspeth and I walk around 4 tables and describe the works that are displayed just for us. And some of them might not even be found in Ireland, not without a lot of work, that's for sure. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg for the collection, folks. I'll have some more information on the blog, and I'll try to sneak something in at the end of this podcast. But now let's listen in to my conversation with Elspeth just a few days ago. What I think we'll do is we'll walk around the table. Sure. And I was going to do a big sit down. We might do that later, but there's too much here. We're here at Kansas University in Lawrence, and we've got a table that's been spread out full of amazing things from their Irish collections, and I can only begin to explain any of it, so I'm going to walk around it with Elspeth Heaney. Healy. Oh, yeah, that's right. The good old, I know Healy. And could you give us a few words before we walk around this table? There's amazing things. There's posters, and there's poetry, and there's a thing on original surname report from Ireland, and we'll go around one by one, but give us the lowdown.
Sure. Well, this is just a portion of our extremely large Irish collections. Our Irish collections consist of 3 sub-collections. The Joyce collection, which was our earliest collection, which is of James Joyce, and that was acquired in 1953, and contains a first edition of almost everything, except for a few items printed in very small numbers just for copyright purposes. And then we have our W.B. Yeats collection, and that was acquired from P.S. O'Hegarty, who had one point been in the Irish post office but refused to take the oath of allegiance and had to leave at one point, and was also an Irish historian and biographer and enormous collector of books. And so we acquired that collection from him, which then paved the way further down the line after he died to acquire the bulk of his library from his widow. And that material came in 1959. And that portion of the collection is 25,000 items strong. So you can imagine extremely rich resources in Irish history, Irish literature, as well as things that you might not expect, like 19th century literature and boys' novels. So a wide variety of materials, political ephemera, and materials related to genealogy as well.
And this would be like the largest collection outside of Dublin for literature?
It depends a little bit. We like to think that it's one of the largest collections of Irish materials in general, outside of Ireland. So we'll have to count our numbers against other libraries to be 100% sure on that. But that's what we like to say, and certainly it's not something that people would necessarily expect in the middle of Kansas, but definitely a resource worthwhile for researchers, students, scholars, anyone interested in Irish materials.
Well, great. Boy, I sure appreciate you setting this table up to give me some sort of idea of what you've got here. Let's walk around the table now, and we can both comment on it as we see it here.
Sure, yeah.
Now this looks like this was the little, really, was a one-of-a-kind index to the whole collection here.
Yeah, so this is a catalog of the P.S. O'Hegarty collection, and it's a 4-volume catalog that's organized essentially by subject matter, so that there will be headings like almanacs or genealogy or church religion, and then all the books from O'Hegarty's collections that fall under that category, generally speaking, not of science, were listed there. And this was compiled by Mrs. O'Hegarty and those helping her around the time that we were making the acquisition. And so this came with the collection.
Well, when I first asked, you said, well, there really won't be much in genealogy at all. I thought, well, maybe there'll be nothing. But here there's 6 pages of listings on various genealogy books. So it's that big, folks. If you've got an interest, boy, you have got to check this collection out. Let me see. Is this part of... here's the genealogy. Boy, they got Stuart, a genealogical history and sketch of the Stuarts of the House of Castle Stuart in Ireland, the family of Green and Youghal, and the will and family of Hugh O'Neill, Earl of Tyrone. And we know those O'Neills are all related up there in Ulster, so I bet there's a lot of families that would be interested in that. And the Earls of Kildare, and the History of Kerry, of course, by Jeremiah King, a book I've used more than once. And we've got the Levinge family and jottings for the early history of the Levinge family. Lineage of the family of Hoveden, Irish branch. So we've got 6 pages of that. So there's some interesting things you can take. Oh, and there's a full color map.
Yeah, this This is a map of Ireland, provinces and counties, and it's actually the date on that, I should tell you, is wrong year. The date on that is 1798, and it was composed by William Faden, who then later became geographer to His Majesty the King and Prince of Wales. And so you can see here pre-Act of Union map with all the various counties in color. So.
And this is the original. This isn't one of those reproductions.
No, this is it.
Boy, that's not. And the colors are as fresh as they were the day they hand drew them.
Yeah. And then heading over here, this is an early item, which is a letter from Ireland giving an account of the bloody engagement between the Protestants at Londonderry and the Irish Papists near that place. And it sort of goes on a little bit more. It's a broadside giving the Irish perspective of the siege of Londonderry during the Williamite War. So 1689.
Well, and that's an original.
Yes, that is
the
original broadside.
You see how it was originally put down. It's not just another reproduction. And, of course, things like that bear on everybody's history in Ireland.
Yes.
And what about this? This is the most ragged thing I see up here. It must really be old.
So, yes, this isn't, by any means the oldest item in the collection, but it's one that's a little bit worn, and it is a hand copy of the Blennerhassett pedigree. And so this copy originates from around the 1820s. And you can see here, well, I guess you won't be able to see who are listening, but there are different sort of little genealogical charts here, and then histories relating to various individuals in the Blennerhassett pedigree. So I think lots of interesting information, and because it's hand copied here, this is a unique item. There are other sources that sort of duplicate this material at various points.
But this was
maybe not identically.
Yeah, and this might be an original, and it's over 100 pages, I can tell from
Yes.
here. So if you're part of the Blennerhassetts, and I know they were a big family in County Kerry, you'd be wanting to take a look at that. Oh, now here, I've seen this in a smaller version, several hundred years old too now. This is?
Yes, this is Edward Kimber's The Peerage of Ireland, which gives, among many other things, a lot of the coats of arms and heraldry, and then information about the peerage. And this particular edition is from 1768. We have it here in two volumes.
Yes, and it's very good. All the line drawings are very nice, and it appears that all the pages are intact. My copy had a few corners torn off of it, but this is an excellent 2-volume set.
And then coming along here, I've just got an assortment of various resources that might be of interest to those researching their family history. I have something, King's History of County Kerry, which is in 6 volumes. And we don't have the first volume, but we have the others. And that series starts circa...
Hey, I might have the first volume. I might have to donate that to the collection, and that way we got it.
The first volume is from 1908, and the other ones are from subsequent years. And then we have varieties and synonyms of surnames and Christian names in Ireland, which is a useful resource because it does offer those alternate spellings, the various ways that names might have been changed.
And this one is dated 1890, so that's
yes,
right.
Price 1 shilling.
Yes, that is the year that the survey was taken for that. So that's or published. So that's right on track. And there's a little note on the immigration.
Yeah, this is a excerpt here, evidence on the subject of immigration taken before the Select Committee on the Employment of the Poor in Ireland in the session of 1823. And this particular excerpt here, it's excerpted from the report of the Select Committee, is about emigration to Upper Canada. And it has various plans relating to emigration from Ireland.
That's right. It doesn't have a bunch of immigration lists, but it has the plan, how it was laid out, and what some of the conditions were. So that could be some good background information for researchers. Oh, and there's a poster.
Yes, so shortest sea passage to America here on the Allen Line. And this is a poster from 1873. And it actually, you can see over to the side there are some annotations about rates, manuscript there for passage to America. And it says steerage passage £6, 6 shillings there to Quebec, Boston, or New York. So interesting, lots of information on there. It gives a couple of different steamship boat names.
That's right. Yeah, that's very good. It gives you a feeling for the day, what your folks might have been seeing before they left Ireland to entice them to come or tell them how they could come. And what about would this collection have anything like in parish histories, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so here we have one, and you'll have to pardon my pronunciation if I don't get this right, but a short history of Katy Parish. It's Church and People by M.B. Hogg, rector, and this is from 1928, and it goes through and lists all the individuals who were associated with the parish in quite some detail at various points.
And I see dates running back to the 1860s in there, so you have to remember a book's written about what happened before it was printed. So if your parish happens to be in any of this collection, you'd really want to read that sort of thing, either here or anywhere else you can find it. But this is the best place I've ever found. And look, there's a list of the church wardens from 1814 to 1928. So there's no telling what you might turn up in some of these things. They've got the rectors and the curates, and just a little note on how far the records go back. So that's just a little note to our family history researchers. And of course, I think everybody's heard of the Mass Rock, and I've sung a couple of phrases from An Rev to Aaron Carrick, which is, where you at the rock. And here's a nice full-color picture original from the book.
Yeah, this was what was going to be a Christmas insert into Young Ireland, which was a periodical publication, sort of nationalist, directed at young people in Ireland. And this publication was active through the 1880s and 1890s. And so this came as an insert, and it's a picture of Mass in the mountains, a picture of the penal days. And so you can see the Mass Rock, and you can see several figures, again in full color in the background on lookout to make sure that no one is coming. And then we also have, of course, the issues of Young Ireland itself, which would serialize, literature, stories, poems, interesting things for young people, but often on patriotic themes. And so here we have a serialization in here of a story that is called Exiled from Erin, a true story of Irish peasant life. And it appears, weekly with each issue.
And they give you a feel for what the people were doing and how they felt in Ireland, not just a name on a passenger list, so you can learn something of the history of the people and the country. Oh, and here I think there's a whole bunch in this collection about 1916 and the Rising and patriotism, that sort of thing. Can you give us an idea?
Yeah, well, P.S. O'Hagerty, whose collection this was, he was certainly an Irish nationalist and collected widely political materials and ephemeral materials, sometimes very difficult to find nowadays, especially in the United States, relating to politics, all throughout the first several decades of the 20th century. And so here we have a proclamation against emigration from Ireland from 1920, asserting that, Ireland needs its citizens, and so they're not to leave.
Yes, and it says, it was from the Dáil Éireann, and it says, whereas Ireland cannot spare any of her children at the present juncture. And boy, I tell you what, we're glad that a few of the children escaped to America to help build this country. But that tells you that Ireland needed her people then, too.
And here we have a series of Irish Volunteers tickets from 1913, I believe. And it's for an event that was to take place at City Hall in Cork. And various people are advertised there. And I think one of the fun things about this series is it says on the tickets themselves that the capacity of the hall is limited to 1,500. But we have a set of about 40-odd tickets here of various numbers. And some of the tickets that we have are from the 300s, but we also have tickets in this pile that go up to 2,778. So though the capacity may have been 1,500, certainly they were having tickets for more people than just that.
a strictly limited edition. Yeah.
Yes. And then here is a Gaelic League carnival poster. Again, this is an example of something that would have been ephemeral, a poster put up, taken down at the time, but O'Hagerty collected these items. And so you were noticing before that one of the people associated with it is an O'Loughlin. So
That's right. O'Loughlin, Murphy, and Boland.
yes. And here, it tells you about there's a marathon race, there's a hornpipe champion, chips. So there's also, all sorts of things going on there. And now in the back here, we have a Sinn Féin poster, and I'll try and describe it to you. It is a picture of a space of land entitled, that says Ireland, and then there's a picture of someone in a top hat with a Union Jack on it grabbing Ireland, and then there's another hand grabbing him off of Ireland, and that hand has written on it Sinn Féin, and so it says, "Help us grab the grabber, vote Sinn Féin." So an election poster from the, again, early 20th century.
Oh, yeah, and that's a big one. It looks like that's one of the 4 green fields that they're trying to hold on to, that Sinn Féin is pulling them off of. So I think most people will understand what that means. And, boy, below that, there's something here that is so unique. I would like to let everybody know what names were in these, but I can't read all the names because my Irish isn't that good. Tell us a little bit about this. Oh, this story continues in part 2 of our interview with Elspeth, so we'll cut it off for now. But remember, it's KU Library. I've got contact information on the blog. That's in Lawrence, Kansas, and the best is yet to come. I'm telling you, handwritten locations and names and dates, and you won't believe it. Might be some of your ancestors there. And I'm also going to put that 4-volume category of what they've got there, a listing of categories. Just of the categories is 4 pages. So I'm going to put that on the blog, too, so you can find it there as well. And once again, our thanks to the KU Special Collections Library. That's the Spencer Research Library. And now let's try to catch up on some of our normal stuff, which, it's hard to get back into after hearing all these amazing things. The Irish family name of the day is Hickey. It's in honor of Ms. Maria Northcote, and related spellings, you can spell that E-Y or just Y on the end, and you can even put an O in front of it, and it's from the Guide to the Various Spellings of Irish Family Names. We got that link on the blog. Take a quick look at the history of the name. The O'Hickey family is found serving as hereditary physicians to the O'Briens of Thomond in more ancient times, and the name is more likely taken from the Gaelic word meaning healer. And they're given as a Dalcasian sept, and historically they're found in Clare, Limerick, Tipperary, and Cork, and Dublin in the 1890 birth index. And spelled as Hickey with an EY, the name's listed as a principal one of Cork and also found in Kildare and in the census of 1659. And it's also found under other spellings as principal names in Clare and being found in Limerick and Kildare at that time. And with the O prefix, we find O'Hickey and O'Hickey spelled 2 ways as a principal name of County Limerick and more. There's more entries in the book, Irish Book of Irish Families, Great and Small. The name appears 43 times as Hickey and O'Hickey in our online index. Oh, my gosh. You know what? That's taken us up real close to the end of what we got here. I think, let me see, since this is one of our 4 ending deals, I ought to take, Celtique's that little group I've been playing with 2 or 3 times now, and they end their sets up in a very special way with a little song that goes back to Scotland and Ireland for several hundred years, 200 or 300 years that they have record of. So since we're trying to break in slowly to a new format, and we'll be doing that with episode 205 for the Irish Family History Podcast, we're going to do that. I'm going to just take that little song and end it here with that because I thought it was a nice little song, and we're saying goodbye to our old format, so I think it's appropriate. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away. And of all the sweethearts that e'er I've had, they'd wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and I'll softly call, good night and joy be with you all. This has been a recording of the Irish Roots Cafe and Hedge School at www.irishroots.com. Feel free to join us anytime. We have 6 other podcast feeds if you're interested in other aspects of Irish culture, and we're in the middle of reorganization. This has been podcast number 200, and we've got 3 more in the can for our transitional period. Hope to see you for the next 200, and Shlan.